with my super secret shades? You appear to be a demon. Hey guys, Million here with you, MILLIA, and your ministry provocateur, iconoclast, firebrand, and the resident heretic here at Dominion Fire. Thanks for joining me today. Now, on today's vlog, I want to start talking to you about the topic of discernment, because I think that in dealing with a lot of things in ministry, whether it be healing or deliverance or just general operation of the Spirit, that discernment is going to be probably the number one tool in the toolbox for this particular use. Now, discernment is also known as discernment of spirits, and what it refers to is the ability to either look at a situation, perceive a situation, hear something, know something, walk into a room, and be able to kind of feel the difference between what is of God and what is not. You've all had the experience at some point, I'm sure, where you walked into a room or a building or a location and you're just kind of like, okay, something doesn't feel right up in here. That's something of a discernment. Or you were able to look at someone or meet someone, and upon doing so, you sort of know right away, okay, there's something not right with this guy. Even if they may not have exhibited anything outwardly, openly, that would lead you to believe that. There's just something kind of in your spirit that is prompting you or telling you that there's something up, and what do we do to address this? And that is discernment, because what you want to do is when you start with this kind of stuff, discernment is going to be sort of like the stoplight. And the way that I would tell you to approach it is that when you look at, now, let me stop there for a second. Let me also tell you that it's not only about looking at something, it's about hearing it. It's about being able to hold something in your hand like an object and being able to say, okay, something's weird about this. You have senses. You have all these different cool things that God gave you. You got to start using them. Okay, this is the trick to all this. And people say, well, we don't go by feelings here. Well, I got news for you. You walk into a building somewhere and you start feeling that something's not right. Yeah, you go by feelings at that point, because that's your discernment trying to tell you something. Now, this is different from what people's talking about with like emotions and how to run a church. I'm not talking about emotional feelings. I'm talking about sensations and perceptions that are inside of you that fire up when you're in these kind of situations. So you can look at someone or a person or a place or a situation or an object or something. You can physically look at it. You can hear something. Like if you hear a certain song and you're like, okay, even though this is not a Christian worship song proper, there's something very godlike about it. And that happens a lot. Or you may hear a worship song and be like, they sing this in church, but there's something not right here. That's discernment. Okay, that's the Holy Spirit prompting you that something is up and you need to start paying attention to it. So what I would do in this first round of videos on this, kind of this introduction to discernment, is that if you've had that happen to you, that is normal. Okay, that is actually something that God gives you for your protection, because your eyes proper, yes, can deceive you. But if you're just operating physically with your eyes, then you're limiting yourself, because you're not just a physical being. You're a spiritual being in addition. So yes, your eyes can deceive you, but if you're using your eyes physically, but processing it spiritually through the Holy Spirit, now you have a visual discernment to see what's going on. You may also have a case where you come across someone who everybody seems to hate, who may not look the part, who may kind of look a little whatever, but you see something in them that's positive that you can work with. Okay, that's a discernment. And what I'll tell you about these kind of situations is that don't limit yourself. A lot of people are going to look at this kind of stuff and say, oh, well, that's not for me, or that's not the gift I chose to operate. Stop that right now, okay? It's something you have as part of the whole package. Whether you want it or not, you have it. The question is, are you going to start to use it? Or are you going to start to operate it and include it into your toolbox? Now, the reason I use the term toolbox is because it gives you a good world example. And what I mean by that is that if you have one tool, you can do a certain amount of things. And there's that old saying that, to a man with a hammer, every problem is a nail. Well, yes, because that's all you have. But as you start adding more tools into your toolbox, now what happens is God will commission you to take on bigger jobs. And now you can build bigger things and stronger things and be more precise. So you never want to take away something that God has provided you, He's giving it to you for a reason. He doesn't just give you fluff just for the sake of having it. He gives you stuff because He wants you to start using it in addition to the other things that you have. So, first thing I'm going to tell you about this, and this, again, this is just a little introduction to discernment, is that whenever you are anywhere, if you're watching a TV show, start discerning it. If you're watching a news program and a politician, a president or a governor or a senator, somebody is speaking, naturally, by default, we are distrustful of them and we say, oh, they're all crooked and all that. But look deeper into the situation. Look discern-wise into the situation and see what's truly going on behind the scenes. Because I'll tell you right now that what you're seeing, like on your TV news and what's being portrayed to you, is not actually what's happening. Look deeper into the situation and see what's going on within that person. And you'll be surprised once you start kind of locking in on it, you'll know it, I guess is the best way I can put it. So everything, when you're listening to songs on the radio, when you're watching movies, even if you're watching, all those satanic, demonic horror movies, discern it. Instead of just going by people's assumptions, use a discernment to pick something out of it. You can see all these things and you can witness these things and experience these things. If you're just doing it physically out of just your rational soul mind, then that's all you're ever going to get. All you're going to get is opinions, prejudices, and just the ways people think. Look at it, and this is something I always used to struggle with when people say, oh, you got to look at a person through God's eyes. And I'm like, how in the world do you even do that? Well, here's the answer. It's discernment. You have to use this ability that He's given you to see not only the person, but to see through the situation and see straight into their soul. Because once you see that, now you know what you can start operating in. And I have to caution you about this, that if you're operating more out of a soulish mindset, more like soul-based, you're going to have a prejudice with this as well. So you really got to emotionally separate yourself from what you may think of a person or their situation and try to operate purely out of the Spirit, because don't think for 1 minute that that's not going to cloud some of your discernment. So you got to be very, very careful about that. All right, guys, I'm going to cut right there, and we'll talk more about this, and we'll delve into some deeper topics as we do this. So thumbs up, subscribe if you will, and anytime check out the website at dominionfire.com with me, Millian, Millian, and I'll see you next time. Boom goes Yeshua.